What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Coffeez for Closers. Our guest today is a true embodiment of a serial entrepreneur, currently making waves as the founder and CEO of Stearns Lending, an innovative force in the mortgage banking industry with a philosophy centered around collaboration, individual value, and the essential ingredient of having fun. He's shaping a new era in the financial world, best known for his unparalleled success with Stearns Lending LLC, which under his guidance became one of the largest privately held mortgage companies in the nation ever. Our guest story doesn't stop there. His ventures range from starring in one of my personal favorite shows, Undercover Billionaire, to founding multiple companies that have left significant marks across various industries. Beyond his entrepreneurial spirit, he's a figure of philanthropy and community service, and most importantly, kindness, along with his wife, Mindy, earning them numerous awards for their dedication to giving back. From being named Ernst & Young's Entrepreneur of the Year to being inducted into the Horatio Alger Association of Distinguished Americans, his journey is nothing short of inspirational. Join me in welcoming the Glenn Stearns. Let's go.
Let's go.
That's right.
How you doing, Joe?
Good. Thank God. Glenn, I'm so stoked. Been trying to get you on here for a while. And, it's an absolute honor to have you here. For years and years and years, you're always just a public figure, like an elusive figure. When I got in the mortgage industry, that I was like, man, who's this Stearns? Everywhere I see his name on every building, Stearns. And here you are, sitting in the flesh with me, just in this tiny little room, just hanging out. The incredible Glenn Stearns, and really like your story. After watching the show Undercover Billionaire, when I saw that it was aired and I saw it, I'm like, you talk about being able to overcome challenges, talk about being able to endure hardships. I mean, that show Undercover Billionaire, one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life, and I think everybody who's listening today should watch that show. Obviously, season 2 wasn't as good.
I'd say so.
Because it didn't have Glenn. Grant Cardone, Glenn, he did all right. But Glenn, you've been an inspiration to so many, and you've really reshaped the industry as a whole.
Well, I appreciate that. Wow, that's that's a lot to take in. But the reality is, it's all kind of relative. We all do the best we can do. I was very fortunate to have some lofty goals, but to be able to surround myself with really strong people. I think when you aren't interested in taking all the credit, you can really do some amazing things when you have other people that get involved and get invested in, trying to climb a mountain together. You never know how you can go. And we actually did pretty well. We've sailed some pretty rough seas, and we've come out all right. So
that's awesome. You've really to come back from after selling Stearns and just dive right back in and just say, you know what? I'm going back in all in after going through, some of the hardships, and we'll talk about that, with your health and bouncing back. And, it's amazing. It's amazing to hear. And one thing I learned from Mindy last week when she was on the show, when you did Undercover Billionaire, and I watched it, and I might have missed the scene, or maybe my ADD didn't allow me to watch the scene, but you did it all, and you weren't eating, you did it all from, food.
Well, that's why my voice is all screwed up. I had some cancer. That's what got me out of the business. If it hadn't been for that, I would have been continuing. I love this business, and but I did, and I got cancer in my throat, so I had an operation and chemotherapy and radiation, all that stuff, and so it put me in a position where I can't eat anymore. I have to eat through a tube because it can go into my lungs. Then it'll end up, obviously causing aspiration pneumonia, whatnot. So, but we didn't want to make that part of the show. The show was about building and growing a business by surrounding yourself with great people. It was about this country and the opportunities that are in it. So you have so many people, and this, that'll go and say, I don't have the lucky breaks that everybody else had. And I'm not born with a silver spoon. And so the idea behind it was that it's really about, when you put your mind to anything, you can do it. And so by putting in the cancer side of it, or the fact that I couldn't eat, that was a distraction. And I didn't want people to feel sorry for me. I was more about, I wanted people to be inspired that they could do anything they wanted to if they put their minds to it.
What an incredible inspiration. And Glenn, to your point, like, I'm an immigrant. I came from Egypt, and we came from absolute dirt poverty. Like, I joke, but this is pretty serious. I'm not from regular Egypt, the Egypt that you just visited. You probably went to the nice parts. Like, I'm from this place called Helmait El Zatoun, which is like in Cairo. Cairo's got like 100 cities or something, like little sub cities, but this is like the poorest city of the poorest cities. Like, so I consider myself not from a third world country. I'm from like a sixth world country. so when you come from like roots like that, and then you come to America, and I've been fortunate enough to have good, significant success. It's like, it's very, like, this is truly the land, the land of the greatest opportunity on the planet.
Amen. And it's funny because again, just to go back to that show for a second, because it's not about the show, but people said, Glenn, you've had such great success in all your businesses before. Why would you want to go on air and, most likely 90 days build a business from $100 to $1 million? You're more than likely going to fail. Why do you want to show people that you can't do it, right? Like, it doesn't, what upside is there? And by the way, John Elway, Richard Branson, some of these bigger influential people in my life were on air. They cut it out of that show saying they would never do it. And I'm thinking, why would they say that? Until I got in the middle of the show and I realized 100% I was going to fail. And they were right. And my kids were going to see me fail. And the world, who I thought I'd shown everybody, look how well I've done in business, they were going to see me fail. At that point, I realized I need to blow this show up. I need to walk, because no one will see me fail. And I can protect myself from the embarrassment of all that. And then right when I was literally going to walk away, I realized one thing. It's not about protecting and whether you're, going to make it and have people think you're great. It's about how hard you try. It's about showing my children, because that's why I did it. Showing my children that you try as hard as you can. And if I'm going down, again, I had 100% certainty I was not going to make it. I'm going to go down swinging. And, it turned out fantastic, because a lot of times when we get into a hole and it's dark, we think we can never get out. And if we get good people around us, we'll crawl out of any hole. And so when I think of that, I'm probably most proud of that. Again, not the show. I'm most proud that I didn't let fear run my life, and I didn't quit. But I said, I'm going to keep going. And again, it was more my own personal battle, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's, the reality of why I think it's so important for people to really address, why are they doing things? I love this business, and I will take the highs and the lows, because it's all part of the process. You never know, you can't really appreciate the highest highs unless you've been to some pretty dark places in your life, so.
And you've experienced quite a bit, and it continues to be an inspiration. Glenn, I like to start the show, and I know we had a long intro just kind of chatting, but we're gonna get right into it. I like to start the show with a question about you personally, and it's about your morning routine. So what do you do every morning? How does someone like you wake up every morning? How do you start your day?
Well, I wake up probably 5:30 and I read the news. I just like to get up slow myself, and so that's usually my beginnings, is what's going on in the world. I want to see that, and then after that, I'll end up usually taking a shower and a cold plunge.
Yeah.
You had Mindy on. I think
Mindy talked about that.
I'll talk about cold plunge. She's got me kind of involved in that now, and then just get right at it, get to work.
You have a cold plunge in your bathroom, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I heard about that. And she keeps it pretty cold.
She keeps it real cold. I mean, that's the thing. But yeah, no. So I'm more. I don't know. A lot of people have these routines. Mine is more based off of. We talk about balance, I guess. And my balance is not really in a daily balance, but it might be more in a monthly or quarterly balance. Some days I'm head down for 2 weeks straight where I don't stop. And then I'll take a week and goof off or take 3 days or something.
Yeah.
And so I have a different type of balance, I guess, but I still feel like I balance pretty well, but it's not as daily as other people have.
I mean, you're one of the most successful people ever in mortgage, and you don't need to work. I mean, like years ago, you didn't need to work. Like, how does someone like you continue to find that motivation? Just get up every day, 5 a.m., grind.
Well, again, like I said, first, it's never been about the money, right? It's been, I really enjoy, the whole thought of home ownership. I enjoy the idea of building a bigger, infrastructure and people and seeing what we can do and change the industry. When we were number one, I had gotten the cancer and sold, went around the world with my family, and best time in my life, right? Just to be able to focus on the ones you love.
Yeah.
After cancer didn't kill me like I thought it might, I'm like, okay, it's time to go back at it. Went back in and did the mortgage thing again. And I did it because that's, again, what I really enjoy, and so it's not a job, I don't have like an end game where I want to build it up and sell it. I just would like to make a difference. And we named this company Kind. I think in the last 10 years, probably more of the Wall Street influence came into our sector, where you had a private equity and different things where they, hey, well, I'll come work for me. I'll give you $100,000 signing bonus, but now you're mine for 2-3 years. And if you leave, I'm going to sue you. So it wasn't quite as kind as it had been. So it was pretty intentional this time. Let's go in. Let's make it kind again and fun. Our portal for all the brokers is called the Quickie, the happy beginnings and the happy endings, right? It's about being fast, and it's about, so we joke, we have fun, we make it light. And, we've grown faster than any other mortgage business, again, because it isn't about just trying to make money. It's about wanting to make a difference.
And you've really shown that you're making a difference. You're making a difference. I mean, you're making a storm in the industry. You're already ranked number 5 in the country, and like you're just doing
7, actually, but
number 7.
I mean, we're
it's my salesman in me.
I know, but we're a few loans away from number 5, and we've grown a lot this quarter. So I'd like to see where we are, but we're real close, right?
Yeah, I mean, for just coming in, having beat cancer, and just doing this just to make a difference and get back in the swing of things. It's amazing. It's amazing to see. I remember when I saw the Kind Lending logo. They took down the Stearns logo on the building on the 55, and then Kind Lending came up, and I'm like, what is that? Who's Kind Lending? And I remember a couple of years ago, and now here we are. You just brought it back. It was just a vision at that time.
But sometimes you need motivation to do things, right? And I didn't like the way it ended. I had my name on the door before, and I didn't like how the story ended with Stearns. So I said, I'm going to go back into the same building, same floor, start all over again, and do it one more time. And so, but again, it's more about the game, right? It's not, I think so many people get in and go, I'm going to be a millionaire. It's about happiness.
Yeah.
And if you can follow your dreams, figure it out, the money will come. It's not, but when you put that as your guiding force, you tend to run into some problems.
Yeah, it's the biggest thing for success for us. It's like we don't chase money, we chase the consumer experience. We chase, our loan officer's success, making sure that they're all successful. And that's a true part of, a winning team. Let me ask you this, like, we're going to dive into your history a little bit. What age were you when you started in the mortgage industry?
Well, I was, gosh, what was I? Right out of college. So I think I was 23. I came from Maryland, graduated with a degree in partying. Right. I got a 2.16 grade point. I, just a little bit background on that. I had failed fourth grade. I had a child in the eighth grade. Okay. At 14. I
Wow.
was the first in my family to go to college. I followed in my family's footsteps of being a nice big partier, hence the 2.1 grade point average. And I was literally in a bar, 1:30 in the morning, laughing at the silliest thing. I don't even remember what that was, but in the middle of my deepest fog, I had my clearest thought. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to make something of my life. I don't want to live in a cave and think that this is what life should be about. I told my buddy, hey, let's go to California. He's like, okay, when? I go, tomorrow. Tomorrow? I go, yeah, let's see what it's about. And so I ended up out here. I was sitting on a bench, Corona Del Mar, Ocean Drive, by myself, $1 million homes, cars, beautiful people. I'm like, I want this life. Like, what's it going to take to get this life? I saw a man in his yard cutting the rose bushes. I walked up, I said, what did it take to get this house? Like, I know I can do it. What did it take? He's like, Senor, I'm the gardener. He's like, I think the man's in real estate. I'm like, I'm going to get in real estate. And I told my buddy, he said, let's start heading back home. I said, I'm staying. And I stayed and got in the loan business. I was 1988.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a cool story. So you got in the loan business, and then you worked for a mortgage company, a mortgage broker, right? When did you start your own company?
10 months later.
Was it Stearns?
It was same company. We called it First Pacific Financial. Same company. I just rebranded it with the name. I had a partner in the beginning. So yeah, they say ignorance is bliss, right? I think sometimes it's better not to know what you're getting yourself into. And because it was harder than I thought, right? Isn't it always? Anything you do that's worth something is always harder than you expect it to be, or you wouldn't do it probably. And so I started 10 months after, maybe about 8 years into it. My partner and I decided to go separate ways. He was not as motivated as I was. So I bought him out and kind of took over from there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, what do you think was the source of inspiration for you to become an entrepreneur?
When I was a kid, my mom would put us in the car, my sister and I, and say, let's go. We're going to get lost. Let's go get lost. And we drive and we pull over in some farm and she'd throw her hands up. Oh no, guess what? We'd all scream, we're lost, right? And it was about finding our way back. And so I've always enjoyed not knowing where I'm going. And you can look at being lost with either fear or excitement, right? But you're going to have the same outcome. But are you going to live in fear, or are you going to actually enjoy the ride, right? And so she taught me that taking chances was something to enjoy. And so being an entrepreneur, it's all about taking chances, right? It's all about, being lost at times and finding your way and knowing you're not going to stay in the hole. You're going to get out.
So you have a podcast called Grit Happens, and I want to ask you this: how's Grit happen?
Well, it's all about really life, right? Because life is not just an uphill journey. It's full of a lot of pitfalls, and it's about, as the saying goes, picking yourself back up, right? And I've had a lot of those. When you think about being a young person in a alcoholic family, and like I said, about failing fourth grade and a child, and early but it's also, I've had cancer and I've had issues with, you know, like 2007 and 8, biggest financial crisis. You know, you got your name all over the buildings. Now they're all coming down. So life's about getting through the hard parts, and you got to have some grit to do that. And so, you know, my book is called Integrity, right? Where that's highlighted because
Actually, never noticed that. I might have you sign my book after. It's actually on my desk, your book. So,
yeah, but that's it, right? And I talk a lot about that because I think people have to realize it's not if, it's when we go through the hard parts in our life. And when you do, we shouldn't fear it. We should embrace it and accept it and then find great people to help us. You know, and I tell my kids this, that when you look at, you know, I'll use the word karma, but it's about planting seeds. When you plant seeds, they're going to come back one day and either help you or hurt you. And give you a quick little example of my son. He was in high school, and he and a young lady, you know, got kind of caught messing around or whatever. And he ends up getting kicked out of the school, and she didn't. And I said to him, "Do you think it's fair?" He said, "Maybe." I said, "I do think it's fair. And I tell you why." I said, "You had 12 demerits, and they all were for little things. You didn't have a haircut. You didn't have your tie on. You had the wrong jacket on. All these little things that meant nothing. You had grades that were C's. She was on the honor roll, never had one demerit. So they looked at your past and her past. They kicked you out, they kept her in. All these little things that you don't think add up. One day, there's a time when people can catch you and help you or let you fall. And that's life, right? So you've got to be able to realize, be a good person. And don't do it for the wrong reasons. Do it because it's the right thing to do. And it'll come back and it'll reward you. You know, if I can tell you a quick thing one time, not real good story about myself, but I'll tell it anyway. We were in a concert, my wife and I, and it started. So I ran in, you know, we were on the outside concession area. I ran and poked my head in to see the first act because we knew the people. And the man that's standing there getting the ticket said, "Can I see your ticket?" And I said, I'm down a few rows, but I need to." He goes, "You have to leave. You have to go." And I go, "I'm going to just wait 1 second." He goes, "No, sir, you have to leave." And I look at him, I go, "Why you jerk?" And then I just left, but I was frustrated. And I said that. So my wife and I went down 3 or 4, you know, more aisles down. And I go, "Wait a minute, I'll be right back, Mindy." I ran back to that guy. I said, "Hey, sir, I'm sorry." I said, "You're not the jerk. I'm the jerk for saying that. And I'm very sorry." I go to leave and he goes, "Hey, Glenn." I'm thinking, did I tell him my name? I turn around and he goes, "I know who you are." And he said, "I really looked up to you. And when you said that, I was so disappointed. And the fact that you've come back, it really showed me you are the guy I thought you were." And, you know, you never know. In my case, the guy knew me, but it's not about if they know you. I didn't know he knew me. It's about you always should try to do the right thing. And by the way, we're flawed human beings. We're not always going to do it. But when we do it wrong, hey, own up to it, man. You know, and those things in life later are going to help us, you know, because we're just doing the best we can.
I mean, that could have went one of two ways. This could have been some pompous billionaire guy, totally like in his head, or the true Glenn Stearns, the humble, truthful. Because at the end of the day,
I was a jerk, right? I just was frustrated, but hey, own up to it, man. You know.
yeah,
So
yeah. Let me talk about your work ethic, Glenn, because one of the biggest things I've been inspired by is like your strong sense of work ethic. Like, how did you get such incredible work ethic?
I guess I like what I do, you know, and for whatever reason, I always want to have people think, "Damn, that guy did more than he said." I like it when people are surprised that you over deliver that I over deliver, if that makes sense, right? And I think when we go into a job and we just want to do what it takes to get by, it shows, right? And when we do more, it sticks with people and they realize, I like that person. I want to do more with that person. And I don't know, I don't remember how that happened, but it's worked well for me to always try to. I think when I was a kid, my dad would always say, when we were camping, you leave the campsite cleaner than you found it, you know?
That's awesome. That's awesome. What do you think? If we were to talk about some of your bigger challenges when you started Stearns, what do you think some of the biggest challenges were when you started Stearns?
Let's see. Originally, probably understanding the relationships. You know how important it was again to communicate. When we started, I was probably 7 years into it. We had a warehouse line, and I sat down with my partner and the warehouse banker, and he says, "Party's over." I said, "What's that mean?" And he said, "I've told you guys for the last 3 or 4 months you need to put more equity in the company, and you haven't done it. And so we got to pull your credit line." And I looked at my partner. I said, "What's going on?" Because I was the guy always in the field. He was the guy inside, right? And he said, "I just didn't have the heart to tell you, but we needed to put more equity." And I go, you got to communicate. I didn't even know, you know? And so I had said, "Can you give us just a couple of days to come up with a plan?" And then I just worked my tail off, come in with a plan to say, "Give me 2 or 3 months so I can get a new credit line in place." And I worked all night, got a plan together for that man, and realized I will never under communicate, you know, because they can come in and shut you off. And so we've always done that. We communicate, especially when it's not good news. You know, my wife and I, Mindy, we do what we call a vibe call with our group in kind every month. Good, the bad, the ugly. This is what's going on. You know, if you're nervous because the business is down, cut in half, guess what? Everybody's nervous. You know, we just bring it up. You know, hey, we're on our way up, feeling good, but communicate the good and the bad, you know.
I love that she talked about the vibe call, and you know, I think one thing that every business lacks, and what Kind does really well, is the communication. I think that's attributed to Mindy's growth strategy, right? Like,
Yeah.
she's like, she was telling me she knows everyone's birthdays, she knows everyone's goals, she knows everyone's dog's name, she knows, talk about communication. That's like over communication over there.
So good at that. My goodness. And, you know, it's funny how we started. Again, here we've got this company that it's a whiteboard. We had Stearns forever. Now we're going to do a new one. What are we going to do with this? Let's put our own stamp on this, not do it the way it's been done in the past. Let's have fun. I told you about the quickie, right? All right, let's go out there. What does she do? The first call, maybe we have 150 people. We were new. She says, "Hey, everybody, I'm your chief happiness officer. That's right. I'm your chief ho. I am sleeping with the boss." You know, and she made it light. She made it fun. And, you know, we try to, you're going to be with these people more than they were going to be with their families. A lot of times they're working hard, 8, 10 hours. So let's laugh. Let's have some fun. And she is so great at getting people to realize that it's not just a job. You know, we're here because we're proud of what we do. We're helping home ownership. We're proud that we're growing in a shrinking market, right? We're proud that our company is doing better than most because we're all rowing the same way. We all have passion and belief, and we're happy, you know? And when you look at money, I'll go back to that one more time. It's one form of currency. There's so many others, happiness being a big one. And when you add that, when you realize that is equally as important, then you've got a mindset and you've got a culture that can do things that other companies aren't able to do because they just don't get it. 5 o'clock, time for me to go. I don't care. The only thing keeping me here is money. That's a sad existence for a company. And they don't explode with growth. And they don't become a place people want to work at, So we've somehow, I think we've got the right ingredients this time because it's been working.
That's actually a great segue into my next question. It's like Kind does a great job at fostering talent. What are some of the secrets to fostering talent at Kind?
Well, first we, you know, when you have other people that are your investors and owners and they expect things out of you, sometimes you can live, I'm going back to the fear analogy, you can live in fear. And when you make a mistake, don't mention the mistake or it's going to be a reflection of this team. And then what happens to your voice? It gets silenced because everybody's mad at you for bringing up mistakes. In our case, we celebrate mistakes. It's a weird concept, but what we mean is thank you for finding the mistake early, right? We appreciate it. We're all human, and there's going to be a million mistakes in this company made. Find it quick. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's fix it. Let's move on. I do the same thing with the auditors. When they come in, again, just because I lived the past life with people that didn't quite think the same way, put the auditor in a hot room, right? No windows, and bake them out, right? No, we go, hey, what would you like? Here's a beautiful room with a view. My lawyers, don't let them walk around the floor. What if they see something? What if they talk to people? Or the exact opposite. Go talk to anybody you want. Pick up files, find what you can. You, Mr. Auditor, you're here to make us better. So whatever you can find, we'll be thankful for. So when you look at it that way versus, oh my gosh, what are they going to find? We're going to be in trouble. We don't do things wrong on purpose. We may do things wrong by accident. Let's fix it. And that way you don't get fined by them and all this stuff, usually, unless you're doing something bad, right? But when you do stuff wrong and you just need to tweak it, they're pretty reasonable people usually. And so we're out there telling them, find what you can, tell us. And it works. It's just a completely different view of how to treat people and how to treat situations.
I've had that view with auditors. Actually, it's like, hey, these auditors come in, they perfect our business. They hold me accountable and they figure out things that I'll never in my life figure out what to do. Like they're looking at, they're just here to improve us. Same thing with like our personal trainer or whatever, right? They're just like critiquing us. And that's an incredible way for people to take perspective on life, just like constructive criticism. And kind of all goes down to our like faith, like fall hard, fall fast, get up. Fall hard, fall fast, get up.
Right.
Now, you're continuing to crush it in business right now. Like, what do you think your why is for doing all this?
I've always enjoyed the game. There's a gentleman, a lot of people would know his name is T. Boone Pickens. You heard of Boone Pickens? He was in oil and gas. He passed away a couple of years ago. And Boone was a billionaire. I mean, this guy was a businessman. Like,
what year was
he? Was in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s.
Billionaire in the 90s? It's like a trillionaire now, or the 60s.
The man was, when was he a billionaire? Probably in the 90s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, whatever. And so I was with Boone at his ranch in Texas. And I said, Boone, you were a billionaire and you went flat broke. You became a billionaire again and you went flat broke. I go, now you're a billionaire. I said, why are you doing it again? And he says, son, I just like being in the game. When you look at it again, he did not fear money. He did not think of it that way. It's a game. Why do you drive down the road and you kind of like to reel in the next car and catch up to it? I don't know. It's a game a little bit, and I mean, I don't do it because, again, there's money involved. I like to see growth. I like to see hard work pay off. I like to see happy people. I like to see an idea come to, fruition and then become something great. It's a neat, way to kind of see if you're living. I don't want to sit on a couch. I don't want to, when you think about it, I'll tell you another thing. You talk about me not being able to eat, right? Think about this. I have cancer. I cannot eat or drink anything. When I've been sipping this to keep my mouth wet, but I spit the water back out, right? But I can't because it'll go into my lungs. Poor me, man. Oh, I do not feel that way at all. Not at all. I am grateful to be alive. Okay, grateful. And so you have a couple of things you can do. Not just about this. I'm not trying to put the attention on me, but in anything, in any situation that happens in your life, you can be the victim or the victor, right? It's all mindset. In my case, what am I going to do? I have more dinners now than I ever had. I have people over. I cook. I want to be a part of the game. How is it? What's going? I eat my shakes. I'm good. If you had a pizza and you came over for lunch, are you gonna feel sorry because you're not eating lunch? You already ate, right? I just ate. I had my shake. I make sure people understand. Don't feel bad. I don't feel bad, right? Like, I'm here because I like the social aspect. I'm here. I want to cook for you. I want to see how you like it. I never cooked until I couldn't eat. Or what am I going to do? Sit in my room, feel sorry for myself? It's your attitude. It's how you've got a choice. We all have a choice. And you make your choice and you live with it,
The victor attitude, not the victim.
Amen.
The victor attitude. And that's something like I'm hoping all the listeners, like the woe was me, the victims, like, are you a victim or are you a victor? And you're a true victor, not only a regular victor, like you're a champion. Like sitting there dead broke in Erie, Pennsylvania, going from a $200 million yacht to a $500 broke down truck,
Yeah,
not being able to eat, not being able to drink in freezing climate.
that was wild.
What the hell were you thinking?
Well, what I found, I told you earlier that they had interviewed a couple big important friends of mine, with it being Elway when he was on the boat with me when they came and took me, and Richard Branson, and they said, would you ever like to start over again? And they both said, no way. And I thought, why do they feel that way, right? What cancer taught me, I used to say, oh my gosh, 2007 and 8, the worst years of my life. I mean, we were so far underwater, the mortgage business, we thought we were going to lose everything. And I had to go and negotiate. I had to take a clipboard and go to every single person I owed money to. We had 100 million of buyback loans, class action lawsuits, lost 85% of our business. I mean, the world was crumbling. And I used to tell people, I never want to go through that again. And then I got cancer. I thought I was going to die. And I thought what I would do to live and do that again, to fight that again. So again, it became just matter of perspective. So sitting there going, wow, this would be kind of fun. Start with nothing, sleep in my truck, have no idea what I'm going to do, see if I can build $1 million business in 90 days. Sounds fun. Halfway through, like I told you, didn't feel so fun. All of a sudden, fear kicked in. I'm not going to make it. I'm going to be a fool. My kids are going to see me be a fool. And instead, I fought, did not give up. And I'm extremely proud of what came out of it. Same thing with life. It's the same thing, right? That was just a silly show. But for me, it was a microcosm of real life. And it wasn't about the show. It was about wanting to give up. The devil in your shoulder, just give up. Just this one time, give up. You don't have to give up again. If ever you give into that voice, you will always give into that voice. Wow. Don't give up.
I love that, Glenn. And I want to turn this conversation into like more parental, because one thing I really admire about what you've done as a father is you've raised some incredible kids. And one thing I took notice of is when I went to the event at your house and you had your son valeting the cars. Like, they're living in a, you know, God knows how much the house is worth house. And, he's so humble that he's valeting the cars. And to raise children with that sort of humility in a place where they're not spoiled. And I told Minnie this last. I'm like, wow, you've done a great job, like parenting these kids.
Thank you. That's very intentional too. I found my lawyer he wrote a book, and part of it in there talks about for everything we give our children, we take something away, right? So if we don't allow them struggle and adversity, they don't get to build character. And it's very true. And, when my son was in 8th grade, he wanted to go to DC and New York on a school trip.
Yeah.
And did Mindy talk about this?
No.
So he said, Dad, can I go on the trip? I said, absolutely. I said, how much is it? He says, $2,500. I said, great. I said, I'm even willing to pay half. Half. How am I going to come up with $1,250? I said, let's think of how you can do that. It was September. I said, you got all year. Let's figure it out. And we came up with the idea, maybe he could cut the grass. So I said, let's find out what the gardener, I pay him for that part. And it ended up being $50 every time. So I said, I'll pay you $50. Of course, I had to go buy a $1,200 lawnmower. I didn't have a lawnmower, but that's another story. But I wanted to teach him a lesson. I mean, the value of hard work. So he starts cutting the grass. He calls me. Now we're right here across the street from you. My home is down in Newport. Hey, Dad, I cut the grass. I said, great. Stay right there. I drive home. I walk the yard with him. You missed a spot. You missed a spot. I said, son, next time, if you miss a spot, it's $10 off. And the time after that, it's 20. And eventually, you're going to pay me to do the yard. If you're going to do a job, do it right. I mean, this kid must have thought I was the biggest jerk, right? I leave. 4 days later or whatever it is, he wants to cut the grass quick. He calls me, Dad, cut the grass. Don't move. Drive home. Walk the yard with him. Great job, son, right? Shake his hand. He gets all the way through to May. Dad, I've got all the money. But the deal was you have to leave $100 in your bank account. Okay, have that as a buffer. I got all the money and I had this extra money. And yesterday I bought a PlayStation and I had 500 extra, but I did not remember the tax. So I've got the money for you, the $1,250, but I don't have the full 100. And so I'm short $40. And I said, son, very sorry. You can't go. I said, a deal's a deal. We made a deal. We can't go. Dad, but I can still cut the grass tonight. I can cut it. I said, well, cut the grass. So he cuts the grass. We're inside. Mindy and I, my sister, are inside. And he comes in defeated. He said, Dad, it's dark. I can't finish. I said, son, then you can't go. We have a deal. He walked downstairs so just heartbroken. My wife looks at me. I'm going to tear my head off. I just give her the signal. Just stay right there. I walk downstairs, go into the drawer, get a flashlight. Let's go, son. I walked that yard with him with a flashlight. He finished cutting the grass, got his $50. Great job. He went off to his trip. That next year, he went to go to a school. They asked him to write an essay. What are you most proud of? What do you think he wrote about? I'm most proud I paid my way. Now, when we hand our kids something, it's a completely different story, But when you're able to give them ideas, hey, you can still cut the grass. Hey, it might not be conventional, but we'll cut it with a flashlight. You got to get them, let their wheels spin. You have to give them ideas. There's, it doesn't always work out the way you want it, but it's about using your brain. It's about keeping your word. It's about a lot of different things. And so, I don't know. I just think they're good kids because They haven't been handed everything, and we want to do that. Man, I want to give them everything I didn't have because I grew up hard, but that's not going to help later in life. Doesn't give them the tools they need, so.
And that's a terrifying thing, living in Newport and being around wealth. And like my kids go to like famous football players' houses to play basketball or football. Like, like these are like pro athletes that are like actively in the, like, I would have never in my life dreamed to meet these people. Yeah, my kids are just like, they don't know any better.
Right.
Yeah, they don't know any better. Like, oh, this guy, like, is on my baseball team or like whatever.
It's funny. I had Cal Ripken at my home, and I said to my kids, "Hey, do you want to come meet Cal?" That's okay, Dad. Elway, that's okay, Dad. This is early on. We became partners later, but all these people I had that were at the house, that's okay. And then he sees a picture, and he's like, "What was her name? Who was the girl from MTV? And she was dating Dennis Rodman."
Oh yeah.
Shoot, I forgot her name.
Something
Carmen Electra.
Carmen Electra.
So
yeah.
I'm walking by my kid. My son goes, "Dad, Carmen Electra was at our house." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Why didn't you tell me?" I go, "I've told you about 50 people." He goes, "I would have been famous in my school if I had a picture of her." I go, "You're getting a little older now, son." Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, it's just relative, right? They don't care about Cal Ripken. I care about Cal Ripken. They don't care about John Elway. I care about John Elway. Like those people, no significance, no cultural significance, although they're cultural icons, but it's all relative, like it's a different generation. And even Carmen Electra now wouldn't be very cool now. That wouldn't be like anyone like that.
Every dog has their day.
Exactly. So we're going to dive into like, just the next steps, like the vision for Kind Lending. Like, what do you envision Kind Lending being in the next couple of years?
Well, I love where we're headed. We've been doing some events, the Vibe event, which is about personal growth.
Yeah.
We intentionally wanted to bring people in that can help the mindset, right?
Yeah.
That we are here not to make money, but we're here to better our lives and other people's lives. So we took that on. And now you see other mortgage companies doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I get the call. I was telling you this earlier. Hey, so-and-so's copying us. So I'm like, good. Flattery. I mean, what do you call it?
Copying is the best.
Yeah.
Flattery.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's good to be copied. It's okay to have people take your idea. I don't look at that again. Abundant mindset, scarcity mindset, right? But the idea was to get in here and hopefully change the industry to be more kind, and also to be we're much more thoughtful in trying to have people realize that what we're trying to do is help them live their life fuller, and so if we can do that and other people realize that the rest of the industry is doing stuff like that, that's makes me happy.
I love that. Now you're a little bit more cautious with your business, but do you think that you'll still be taking big risks with Kind in comparison to what you're doing with Stearns? I mean, I'll be asking you to take some risks with us.
Well, I mean, I don't know what kind of risks you mean. I mean, obviously we don't, this industry.
You're going to go down to 500 FICO. You're going to do like the funky stuff, crazy products. I mean, I know you're diving into non-QM.
Yeah, we're diving into non-QM. We're down to 580 in the FICO, but
you were down in like 500. You were doing crazy stuff at Stearns before.
And it's different time right now, right? So we'll continue to look at that and see the balance of if it helps people and if it can also not hurt the company. There's a fine line on that, and so we want to, again, most people were doing 620, 640. A couple of years ago, we were down at 580 again because we were helping that segment. There wasn't a lot of lenders out there doing that.
Yeah, but the juggernauts are in the 580 bucket now, so
they've switched. Yeah. Again, I'm flattered. Hey, come on, keep following us. We're the little guys.
I love it. Now I want to wrap up with a couple questions. The first one, we kind of already alluded to this, but what do you think? This is a three-pronged question. What's a personal goal that you have for yourself? What's a family goal that you have for the family? And what is a business goal that you have for Kind?
Yeah, we kind of touched on it. I'd say that personally, that what's called a goal. I'm going to say it's again more of a I'll use the word mindset again. You know, all my great mentors that are now they're either passed away or they're in their 80s and 90s, have continued to work, have continued to have a purpose, right? And you never see that many people that are old that are not active unless they stop becoming active, and then they don't seem to hang around very long. But the ones that are active, so I want to continue doing what I'm doing. Again, people keep asking, what's your exit strategy? And I say, a pine box, right? Like, I don't have one, I don't want one. And so I want to keep growing and trying to make a difference. The company and the show both taught me that a young, I grew up with bars on the windows in an apartment with alcoholic parents. Again, child at 14, no idea of how far I could grow and make a difference in other people's life. And so to look at that type of opportunity from nothing, not having a lot of mentors, if I can help people realize they can achieve their dreams, that's why I lead with my flaws. I don't go out there talking that life is perfect and look at all the great things I have. I start out with look at all the crap that happened in my life. Why?
That's how you started the book too.
Yeah, it is, exactly. And it's because I want people to go, damn, if that guy can do it, I can do it. That makes me happy, knowing that anybody can do it as long as you are intentional, right? You write stuff down, you get good people with you, and you attack it and you go after it. You can do anything. So I like that. It drives me personally, right? I want my business to change the industry. It's fun this time, and it's changing the industry, and I'll take some credit for it. I'm not trying to be bragging. I'm saying I like being copied, and I like people, going, hey, we got to do what they're doing. And I hope it's a kinder place.
You love the game.
Love the game.
I love playing the game with you.
Yeah, I know we're going to do that. Keep doing it.
Awesome. One last question. Last question, my favorite question. When you're in front of the pearly gates, what's God going to tell you?
Yeah. I if I were to get hit by a truck today, I would be as happy where I am in my life, and I hope I can keep that up. Meaning, I've tried very hard to, as they say, to much is given, much is required. I've tried to give back. I've tried to be a good example to my family. I've lived my life with integrity. I've tried to be an example to people that they can achieve their dreams. And I think, I was reading a poem last night to my kids called Ozymandias. And I don't know if you know that poem, Ozymandias. It's about two people that are out in the desert, and they come on this big statue of a man that's tumbled into the sand. And when they read the bottom of it, it says, look upon my vast empire and fear me for everything. I am the King of Kings. I am Ozymandias. And it shows this crumpled, broken statue that's in the sand going forever, meaning nothing lasts forever.
We're just a vapor.
We are. And so can we pass on goodness to other people and let that live on forever? Can we let our kindness move on.
That's awesome, Glenn. Hey, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. Well, God bless you, Glenn.
Yeah, God bless you.
Thank you for coming on today's show. Just the thought of that poem is like,
Yeah, it's a great
I
poem.
want to read that poem. I'm gonna read it to my kids wouldn't understand it, but I would understand it.
They'll get there. They're 8 and 9, right?
Yeah.
They get there. Yeah.
And 832. Maybe my 10-year-old would. She's brilliant, but the thought is, it hits home.
Yeah.
Just because it just speaks to life and how.
Yeah. Percy Shelley, I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Glenn. It's been such a pleasure to have you on today's show. Coffeez for Closers. Glenn Stearns, the man, the myth, the legend. Make sure you watch Undercover Billionaire on Discovery as well.
Thanks, Joe.
Glenn. God bless you, man. Thank you
Love it.
for
Thanks.
everything you do. Thank you for all your inspiration. Thank you, everybody. Glenn Stearns, Coffeez for Closers. Thanks for watching that, everybody.